In the dictionary, there's a picture of you next to melatonin. It's just letting them out in the backyard.
Yeah, and we'll take them one to go to the bathroom, and we'll just kind of stand there because the dogs start walking, and then pull them from the leash,
But you have them on leash. Okay.
But then, after a while, especially if he pees, then I'll let him off the leash, and I'll go, okay, and then ask you to sit, and I'll say, okay, and then he'll do his routine, and then we'll go for something. So, is that acceptable? I mean, or do we want to keep him on the leash?
Well, let's explain it. We keep him on a leash because he had diarrhea and wanted to make sure he picked up all of his poop. So that's why we walk him on a leash. He's going to get to the point where now I'm just like opening the door and letting him out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What issues are there? That like.
No issues on the leash. Contrary to doing training or walking.
Are you wondering if there's like a more efficient way to get him to use the bathroom? Is that what you're?
No, I'm wondering if it's
Except for that he pulls.
To his training. I mean, it's like he has private space where he can do whatever he wants, and then we have a public space where we're out walking.
So what he's trying to say is in the backyard, if we just take him out to the bathroom, we have him like this, we don't have to e-collar, and he just pulls us around the yard.
Yeah, so that's one. So you're either all the way in heel position or you're all the way out. But the thing about it is that if you are all the way out, meaning I've given you the okay to sniff around, use the bathroom, stuff like that, it's still not okay to pull.
Okay.
So
we should see he uses the whole yard.
And that was part of kind of the issue that was inside the lobby there, where technically at this point in stage, we typically don't see dogs that pull. And he was really trying to pull me to you.
Yeah.
So I would definitely disrupt that behavior. If you're going to be completely out of heel position, which is just fine, I would still enforce the pulling. So basically, when he gets to the end of the leash, you should see him feel it and decide to adjust, right? And loosen the leash back up. But we have to negatively associate pulling on that leash.
Okay.
So, because he's just going to revert right back to where he was when you walked in, which is walking a bulldozer.
I'm just going to say it just so I get burned in my brain. Just all the time he's on the leash, he's here.
Well,
that's not the solution. I believe in giving them free time, on leash. But again, what you want to do when you have that free time, he's all the way out. Again, you're walking around the yard. He's just still not the pull. So you're just enforcing the pulling. So make sure you have that. Make sure you have that e-collar on. And when he pulls, if you feel any tension on that leash, you should be looking to him to notice it and immediately loosen it back up. But if he pulls into it, feels that the collar and the leash is tight, and continues to pull, that's going to be an automatic correction there.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that he's negatively associating any pulling on the leash. You're good. Hold on tight there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then once again, once I, unclick, double okay, so he can run around.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We just don't want him to be in the habit of pulling against the leash. We want to make sure that the pressure on the collar means something for him. When he feels that, he lightens up.
Okay, so good question that for them, like he's totally fine now. 5 weeks ago, he got crazy with that dog walking by.
Yeah, he's doing really good.
So if I'm not walking him, a lot of people let their dogs get aggressive and lunge at him. Well, he's fine until they do that. So I have to correct him. Just keep walking him and telling him.
Yeah, number one, give space.
Yeah.
Get as much space as you can get. And then number two, preemptively turn up on the e-collar. Because obviously that's a not successfully getting out of heel position without doing anything about it. Just make sure you're going up on the knee collar as needed. You're gonna have to, everyone typically has to find, especially with pit bulls, you know, they have their, watch out for this. This is all the way on. See that?
It's like,
Especially with pitties, everyone typically has their non-distracted number, and then everyone has to find their dog number, basically. Their lunging, reactive dog number.
65 is lunging, 65 7.
There you go. There you go. So if I saw that up ahead, I would preemptively turn it up, create space, and then at that point, my focus is 100%, after I've created that space, 100% on the heel position. That's it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure
Cool team. I'll see you guys next week. Always a pleasure, Company. Hey, buddy.
Down.
So you guys already trained with another company, correct?
Yeah.
Who'd you guys
Down.
work with?
It's called Canine. Yeah. Canine training.
Elite Canine? Type Canine?
It was just called Canine. I thought it was an affiliate of you guys. It's out of Monroeville.
Monroeville.
He
Okay.
did our police dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
So,
Down.
what are you?
Down.
So where do you guys kind of struggle with them? Are you guys? What's the purpose of the session? You just kind of want an assessment, you know, based on our standards to see where he's at,
I
or?
spoke with David.
Yeah.
Down. Down. The one thing is the crate. He just will snap all over. However, I have to say, I think, and I've got this one too. I didn't. But basically, it's this right here.
Jumping?
On people and on dogs.
Yeah.
And I get him out around stimulation I can find.
Yeah.
At times he's perfect, and other times he's just out of control even if I snap him.
You know, one of the things about dogs like this that I see that have a lot of motivation, you know, they definitely torture owners initially, but these are some of the best dogs to train because all this energy we can really focus through proper communication and practice on better things than displaying this behavior. All right, so we definitely want everything as high up around the neck as possible. I'm gonna kind of replace this. Buddy. All right, let's start walking here. No. 50% is focus. Is he focusing on me? So right now, one of the things that's going to help you maintain that focus is keeping him from marking and keeping him from sniffing. Later on, once he's got heel position mastered, if you want to, you can give the sniffing back. But through the formative stage, we want to take it away. All right. So I'm going to start to loosen the leash now, and this is pretty much going to be where you guys are going to work here and how you guys are going to work. Nope. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this leash, and anytime he steps out of position, we're just going to simply say no and tap at a level that's meaningful to him. No. And as you can see, I really didn't have to use the leash at all there. He corrected himself. So anytime you use the leash, you're kind of giving him the answer, and it's a good thing. No. No. So I'm correcting him for sniffing. No. So no and a tap. It's pretty much the prerequisite, you know, for him forgetting completely about you there. We had a little bit of a battle initially. The biggest battle was him, no. The biggest battle was him, we're gonna go this way, him sniffing and walking ahead of me. Basically two behaviors that really led to him forgetting about me. No.
When he looks away like that, should I be correcting him or is that not?
Is he in position? I don't mind if our dog looks, because looking is not reacting. Is what we're enforcing right now. You could take a left up here. What we're enforcing right now is heel position. And that's all we're gonna ask of him. You know, he's got eyes, he's allowed to use them. It's just all about him staying in that position.
When you say, how far out ahead, like this is the farthest out he should be?
Yeah, so the definition of heel position is the dog's front paws at our back heels. That's a little extra. You can go, you can make your standard neck to knee, or you can make your standard head to knee. And now you're gonna pull him back over there. Keep going. I personally like to just use my peripheral. I like to look ahead, and if I can see the tip of my dog's nose on my left side as I'm looking ahead, I know he's in position, he or she's in position. But if I can see the dog's whole head and shoulders out of my peripheral, I know that he or she is out of positioning. So you can use neck to knee, head to knee, or you can use your peripheral. It's up to you. No. No. That sniffing's a big one. No. There you go.
No.
So, you know, what we're asking him to do right now is to focus on one thing, which is you and what you're asking him to do, which is heel position. And you're gonna find that once he kind of commits to that, it's gonna be really soothing for him. Because what he's in the habit of is looking for the next distraction and the next distraction. And it's overwhelming for him. The next scent, the next sight, the next sound. So what we're doing right now is we're saying no and we're tapping. As long as he resets, we're good to go. But if he doesn't reset after that one correction, you want to help him reset with the leash pressure. So the leash pressure is the last resort. But just remember this, there's only one correction per infraction. So if he steps out of heel position and we say no and tap, you can't keep saying no and tap until he just randomly returns back to position. After you say no and tap, if he doesn't reset back into position, it's up to you to help him do that.
Okay.
So remember, one correction per infraction. After that, it's up to us to reset him if he doesn't do it on his own. So basically, it looks like, you know, the last training company did a good job of teaching the position of heel without many distractions. So that's good. So he does, you know, he has internalized that, the basics of that. I think, again, your biggest issue is just that he's not really focused on you at all. He's focused on everything else. So one thing we're going to do here is we're going to start to generalize our pace. The reason being is because I'll catch a lot of dogs that are kind of in a fake heel position, meaning that they just basically aren't pulling, which is the lowest standard of heel position you can have. We want him to be focused on us. And the way they go about doing that is because they're so smart, you know, we all have our own pace that we walk. It's our pace. They kind of get used to that. So what they do is they start the walk, they kind of set the treadmill to, you know, 3.0 or whatever, and then they kind of keep up with you by keeping the same pace, and they're completely tuned out, not paying attention to you at all. So now what we're going to do is randomly here and there, don't impede your walk. No. We're going to randomly just change our pace to make ourselves a little less predictable. Okay. So I'm going to go back and forth between my pace and a turtle pace. So here we go. And all we want to see is that, all we want to see is that he makes the adjustment. I'm not trying to purposely set him up for failure or set him up for a correction. If he walks ahead of us just a little bit, turns, sees that we're back a little, and makes the adjustment, he's good to go. Okay. But if he goes ahead of us and doesn't make the adjustment, that's where the no and the tap will come in. Okay. And then I'll speed back up to my normal pace. I'm gonna go back to my turtle pace here. You see he makes that adjustment. That's wonderful. He's looking good. You're a good boy, T. Yeah, bud.
So let's say like I was at the pier right now and there were people, and I never want to sound rude, but I have told people when they come over to pet him.
Yeah, no one is allowed to pet our dog on leash, yep. He bites, we're training, he's got COVID, whatever you gotta tell people.
But when they do that, or if he starts to go towards him, is that when I just do exactly what I'm doing right now?
When people are, no. When people are coming to pet him,
Or if we're passing people and he just dodges it.
Well, typically what I like to do is I like to keep myself in between other dogs or people and my dog.
Okay, so switch sides.
So whatever you got to do to make that happen, make sure you're always in between. And worst come to worst, if they're coming towards you, you know, you just simply step in front of your dog.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
I know what to do now.
Yeah, no as little distraction as possible. You want to kind of take away that micromanagement of that tight leash and kind of ask him to process things on his own. The positioning looks good, at least his understanding of it, but the problem is his lack of focus. So we want to make sure that he's not sniffing, he's not walking ahead, and we're jumping on that as quickly as possible. And we're basically putting that leash pressure to the back burner. Remember, the leash pressure is only there in case he doesn't reset for himself after a correction.
And do you recommend that one or this one?
Either or. Either or. Yeah, right now we're just reliant on this e-collar, not really the collar. Quite honestly, he doesn't need this prong collar right now for this exercise, really.
How did you do this week?
He did good. Sit. Hey, can you sit? He did good. He did pretty good with the bed stays, actually.
Really?
Yeah, even when, like, he didn't totally keep it when my brother and sister-in-law came over the one day, but you said he mostly stayed on it, and then he broke and, like, went and got, but
Okay.
he, like, did pretty good. Like, I could keep it on there. I could go out on the front porch and get something, come back in. He was still in it.
Nice.
So, yeah,
That's
he
really
did
good.
pretty good. We probably worked on those a little bit more than the sit stays.
Okay.
Just because, like, we do a lot of the sits on the walk, so I feel like when I remember to make the extra time for it, it's more the beds. But,
Yeah.
yeah, he's been doing really good on his walks. He's been really, really good.
Okay.
So he probably should be a little tuckered out. He was like on a long walk this morning.
Okay.
The car dealership with me.
Okay.
There's a lot of business. He was good. My mom works in a hair salon for all these old people. He walked in, and
Yeah.
I feel like normally he would have gone nuts. And like he was definitely like more excited.
Sure.
Like, he would listen. He didn't jump on anybody.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Look at you being a gentleman, sir.
Oh. He says, "It's me."
I know. Are you having any issues with him like stealing things or the counter surfing anymore? Or?
He doesn't do it at all.
Okay,
Like,
perfect.
at all.
Perfect,
The jumping
perfect.
is still a work in progress, especially when one of us comes home. He
Okay.
gets like so excited. He
Okay.
gets a little jumpy. But Ted's been pretty good when he knows I'm coming home. He has the remote in his hand, so he
Okay.
corrects him pretty quickly for it.
Okay, what level would you say you're usually correcting him at for stuff like that?
I feel like at home it's usually 40, 45. Sometimes on our
Okay.
walks, like today, I had to get up to like 65, 70.
Okay.
Just, it was like a metro park. I feel like there's
Yeah.
so many distractions.
Yeah, a lot going on.
And there was like bikers and people on dogs. Like there was this other dog going nuts, and he stood like right next to me.
Nice, that's really
I was very
good.
impressed. My dad was like, wow.
That's awesome. Would you say that then, so like with the home stuff, when you get home, is he consistently still jumping on you pretty much every time you come home and needing to be corrected, or?
No, he's super excited.
Okay.
He's not always jumping. We don't
Okay.
correct him for being excited, obviously.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I think it's like when it's been like a really long day and like one of us comes back at like 8
Sure.
or 9 in the evening or
Sure.
like 5 or 6 o'clock.
Sure.
So you just like
Just tons of energy and stuff. Okay. Because what could generally, the reason I ask is because if we find that when we're correcting, it's like enough to stop in the moment, but it's not necessarily enough to decrease the frequency of him doing it, then that just means we want to correct at a little bit of a higher level.
I would say it's decreased in frequency.
Okay,
Definitely.
good.
And even like when people come over, like when my parents come over and stuff, like he's still really excited. He starts to want to jump and we correct him for it, but he's really not nearly as bad as
Okay.
he was before.
Cool.
He still goes like pretty wild with
Yeah.
the crate.
Yeah.
But like he's just like, oh my god, I'm so free.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had a little bit of crate regression this week where he was like trying to really beat his way out of it, but like I think it's just because I bragged about how he's sick. So it came back to bite me. He goes in it just fine, and then he's
Yeah.
just like going nuts. We're like, we've done this like a month.
Yeah. If did it get any better or?
He settles after like 5 minutes, which
Okay.
he usually would
Then that's
settle after
fine.
like 10 or 15, so it was pretty quick. It's never
Sure.
like a huge issue. I mean, like the top latch got unlatched, but he's Pavlov's like this.
You're not getting out, buddy. You're not getting out. If it becomes a bigger problem where it's becoming more incessant, you could correct for like the physical interactions with the crate of like him pawing or biting at it and stuff like that. But if he tends to,
It's often for them.
okay. Then what I would do is if it becomes more of an issue where you find that he is getting more panicked when you're gone, put him in it when you're home for a couple sessions so that you can correct for those things and ideally get that under control so that when you're gone he stops doing it.
No,
Yeah.
otherwise it's pretty good.
Okay, cool. And then I figured what we would do today is maybe do like a little walk. It's just so nice out. I know we talked a little bit about socializing, but I think I'd rather wait on that maybe for a day where we don't have like good weather. So I think we'll do a little bit of a walk and then maybe do some of like the sit stays and the bed stays, kind of combining them a little bit and getting his brain used to like changing gears a little bit and not just, you know, honed in on one skill at a time. So I'll take him to start. Hi, buddy. I've started carrying a slobber rag for all of my slobbery dogs. Are you coming through, Bridget? There she goes. Sit. Oh, good job. It's like, should we? Should we shake hands with everyone? This is awesome.
I know. Yeah.
What a new man. Come. There we go. So then we go straight back into a come, and now the walk is back to being structured. So it's always good to make sure that that line is very black and white, and there's not any gray areas of like, oh, am I letting him sniff and pull because maybe he has to go to the bathroom? If we haven't given him the okay to release him, then we always want to correct for that stuff to make sure that the come command doesn't get sloppy. Good job. Yeah. And that's like with my dogs.
Like half the time. Like I don't let him just like yank towards the trees, but then sometimes
Sure.
he starts to go in the grass. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Typically, like with my dogs, the way I make it easier is I give them a chance to go to the bathroom at the beginning. We walk, about halfway through, they get released to go to the bathroom again. We walk, and then at the end, one more time. So that way it's like very structured, and I'm giving them those opportunities, and they know in between those opportunities, they're not able to engage or look for potty breaks or anything like that.
Now, when we go for a walk, it seems like things move around in his stomach.
Gets things going for him, you know?
Always a walk pooper.
Like, can that be controlled by him to the point where when you let him go?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly...
Perfect. Sounds good, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly capable of recognizing, like, I'm only allowed to go to the bathroom at these moments when I'm released to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Because he holds it every other time of the day, right? You know, so, no, come.
Being a bad influence.
You collar. It even zap you every time.
All right, who's first? We're gonna go right. And one thing you can do too is when you switch from, you can string commands together. You don't have to release them between every single one.
Okay.
So in the context of like you're walking, if you stop and you have him sit and you tell him to sit, when you start moving again, you could just go straight to come rather than the okay. That way it maintains the integrity of the release as well, where if we say okay, he truly knows I am free to do whatever I want.
Okay.
Whereas if we're saying okay for our walking and then correcting if he gets out of position, then he's going to be a little bit more hesitant to actually enjoy that release when we give it to him.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it seems like it would be easy for us to be like, oh, well, he knows bed, he knows sit, he should be able to do them both interchangeably, sit. But up to this point, obviously, we've been pretty strict about making sure we're just working on like one skill per training period. And so it is definitely a game changer for them when you start having them like switch gears to different commands during the same time period, because they get kind of in an autopilot where he's like, get on the bed, that's the answer every single time. And then you throw in another command and sometimes they can be like, wait a second, I'm sorry. So when you're doing some sessions at home where you are kind of alternating a little bit, when you're working near the bed, try not to ask him to sit within like 5 to 6 feet of it, because that can be a little bit tricky for them being that close to it. And while, yes, you know, if you tell them to sit, they shouldn't go to the bed to get on it. Realistically, when it comes down to it, that situation, as far as like real life practicality, is never gonna be a source of contention where it's like, how dare you not sit 5 feet away from the bed? If I'm that close to a bed, I'm probably just gonna put him on the bed, right? Okay. So there's just really no real world application to creating that problem and having to work through it. And then just say bed again. Try to leave your leash as still as possible, because when you move it around, he's looking for that leash to tell him what to do, right? So that might get him a little bit confused. And so really what you want to do in this situation is just stay in one spot, keep your leash as still and kind of loose as you can, and rely on the e-collar and the verbal cue only. Okay, so well basically let's just start over, right? So step a little bit closer to the bed and tell him bed. Give him a second. Don't correct just yet, just let him work through it a little bit. All right, now say your no, do a tap, and then tell him bed.
No. Bed.
There you go. Do you see how that simplified it for him a little bit more? Because when you've got the leash going and then you start moving around, I know it's all trying to help, but for him, he's like, what do I pay attention to? Do I pay attention to the leash, you're moving, the words, all that kind of stuff?
So it's no tap bed.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And you try to just stay as still as possible, because at this point, he knows the command well enough that he shouldn't need any extra help from the leash or the body language or anything like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Bed. So you were saying, Michelle, what was the 5 or 6 feet kind of rule with the bed?
Yeah, so that's when, if you're gonna do like your sits as well, when you're practicing this, is I don't wanna necessarily bring him like right here and tell him to sit. Because that sends some pretty conflicting messages where he sees the bed, so he's like, oh, I should probably just go up there. But technically, if I'm here and he goes all the way to the bed, he's not really in my bubble the way I would like him to be when I ask him to sit. So I technically have to correct him, bring him back and have him sit. And again, it just puts us in a situation where we'd have to give kind of a stupid correction, you know what I mean? That we could easily avoid if we just did our sit over here, rather than right next to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because again, if I'm this close to a bed anyways, I'd probably just put him on the bed.
Sit. Oh, really? I'm trying to ask is that.
Or
Yeah.
you need to be more consistent. I need to be more consistent with the walks with the PA and stuff. And then
Yeah.
we need to be more consistent with correcting, continuing to correct for jumping, and he's still very mouthy. Because
Yes.
I feel like that always happens when we don't have that near us. Like it's always like he's getting belly rubs and then it's just like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, I don't want
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so try just to be more, I'd say this week really prioritize making the walks a little bit clearer. You can start doing like 10 to 15 minute session a day of like comboing some beds, some sits together, to get them used to that. And then as far as the nuisance behaviors, really just like hone in on the mouthing and the jumping. So if you're going to be interacting with him and that's even a possibility that he could be doing those things, make sure you don't do it until you have the e-collar with you, you know, the remote, so that way you can correct for that stuff when it happens. Because again, if they know there's a chance that they can get away with it, then they're going to go off of that chance. All right, Mr. Leo, good job today, buddy.